First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, preaching His word in truth and sincerity. And to the brave, to you sisters out there, staying in order and learning in silence. All right, back at you with another lesson. Shalom, shalom. I'm the brother Quanayan from the Diligent Soldiers in Massachusetts, Boston camp. So I came across a video from a brother, I forgot his name. Yatab is his name. From Seattle. And he had put up a video that I'm gonna put up. I'm also gonna put it in the link so you can watch it in its entirety, because I'm not gonna play the whole thing. The video is gonna speak for itself, man. But in a nutshell, what I'm bringing out is that the private entities that support schools for research have told a professor, to conduct tests on a chemical and to provide the results. When the Jake told the people the results, they told him to lie about it. Why? Because this chemical that they're using in all of our agriculture, right, is lowering testosterone. And I've always felt like Atlanta, right, it's very unusual to have a demographic of Jakes, of same sex alphabet community, right, in one location, concentrated like that. It's never been replicated in any other state, and we're gonna go into how that could be, right? Because I've always suspected that. We said, why is that? Why is Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, this way? I don't recollect it being like that in the early 2000s. From the music, there was a lot of heavy influence from the East Coast and things of that nature. But in the mid, in the 2010s, you started to really see it out there like that. And I began to question and ask myself, why is that? Right? Why is this coincident? We're about to get in it. Without further ado, I'm gonna play this video.
Well, I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We've been with you for 18 years as we turn to another story.
Yes, now we turn to the story of a University of California scientist who discovered that a popular herbicide may have harmful effects on the endocrine system. Tyrone Hayes was first hired in 1997 by a company that later became agribusiness giant Syngenta. They asked him to study their product, atrazine, a pesticide that is applied to more than half the corn crops in the United States and widely used on golf courses and Christmas tree farms. But after Hayes found results that the manufacturer did not expect, that atrazine causes sexual abnormalities in frogs and could cause the same problems for humans, Syngenta refused to allow him to publish his work. This was the start of an epic feud between the scientist and the corporation.
Now a new article in the New Yorker magazine uses court documents from a class action lawsuit against Syngenta to show how it sought to prevent the Environmental Protection Agency from banning the profitable chemical, which is already banned by the European Union. To start with, the company's public relations team drafted a list of 4 goals. Reporter Rachel Aviv writes, quote, the first was, quote, discredit Hayes. In a spiral-bound notebook, Syngenta's communications manager, Sherry Ford, who referred to Hayes by his initials, wrote that the company could prevent citing of TH data by revealing him as non-credible. He was a frequent topic of conversation at company meetings. Syngenta looked for ways to exploit Hayes' faults, problems. If TH involved in scandal, Enviros will drop him, Ford wrote. Well, for more, we're joined by TH himself. That's right, Tyrone Hayes is with us, professor of integrative biology at the University of California, Berkeley, joining us from the campus TV station right now in Berkeley. Welcome to Democracy Now! Can you tell us what happened to you, how you were originally tied to Syngenta, the research you did, and what prevented you from originally publishing it?
Well, here at Berkeley, I was a new assistant professor. I was already studying the effects of hormones and the effects of chemicals that interfere with hormones on amphibian development. And I was approached by the manufacturer and asked to study the effects of atrazine, the herbicide, on frogs. And after I discovered that it interfered with male development and caused males to turn into females to develop eggs.
Pause that. You just heard that. This chemical is causing frogs to change genders, man, in very low doses. I think it was like probably like either 10% or 1/3 of what they're actually putting in our foods, you know, compared to like our bodies compared to a frog. So imagine what it's doing to the psyche and to the hormones of these people, of the people eating this thing. It's happening to everybody, you know. That's how you see a lot more obesity, not only because of the foods they gave us, the sugars they addict us to, but also the chemicals used in agriculture to lower hormone, right? Testosterone helps break down insulin sensitivity. So it breaks that down, man, a lot faster. It breaks down sugar and all these things.
The company tried to prevent me from publishing and from discussing that work with other scientists outside of their panel.
What was the process within the company as you raised your findings? What was their immediate reaction to what you had come across?
Well, initially they seemed sort of supportive. We designed more studies, we designed more analysis, and they encouraged me to do more analysis. But as the further analysis just supported the original finding, they became less interested in moving forward very quickly.
So they funded him. They gave him the green light. They said, hey, man, we got you. We're backing you. The man started producing the evidence, and they were like, oh, we got to back up now. We got all we want. Basically, they knew. That's why they told him to check on frogs, because I bet you they had already known. They just wanted proof that that's what it was. And once he gave them the proof, watch what happens.
And eventually they moved to asking me to manipulate data or to misrepresent data. And ultimately they told me I could not publish or could not talk about the data outside of their close.
So now they told them to, ease up and lie. Why? Because they wanted to move forward. They didn't care. They didn't do the research to try to help the people and say, hey, we can't give this to the people. No. They wanted to prove that this is what it did, and they wanted to move forward and continue using it because they have other purposes.
Panel.
And Professor Hayes, talk about exactly what you found. What were the abnormalities you found in frogs, the gender-bending nature of this drug, atrazine?
Well, initially we found that the larynx or the voice box in exposed males didn't grow properly. And this was an indication that the male hormone testosterone was not being produced at appropriate levels. And eventually we found that not only were these males demasculinized or chemically castrated, but they also were starting to develop ovaries or starting to develop eggs. And eventually we discovered that these males didn't breed properly, that some of the males actually completely turned into females. So we had genetic males that were laying eggs and reproducing as females. And now we're starting to show that some of these males actually show, what we call homosexual behavior. They actually prefer.
Oh, homosexual behavior. You see? I've also always suspected, and I cannot prove, that prisoners from all the way from county, all the way to federal, to max, all of them, they're feeding these people foods to also lower their testosterone. Why? Because it'll be a lot easier to control, a lot less aggressive. You see? These are all devices of the wicked, man. They try to snatch your nuts, for lack of words. It's lucky for the vulgarness.
To mate with other males.
And so where did you go with your research?
Well, eventually what happened was the EPA insisted that the Environmental Protection Agency insisted that the manufacturer release me from the confidentiality contract, and we published our findings in pretty high-ranking journals such as Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. We published some work in Nature. We published work in Environmental Health Perspectives, which is a journal sponsored by the National Institutes of Health.
And when did you begin to get a sense that the company was organizing a campaign against you? What were the signs that you saw post the period when you published your findings?
Before we published the findings and before the EPA became involved, the company tried to purchase the data. They tried to give me a new contract so that they would then control the data and the experiments. They actually tried to get me to come and visit the company to get control of those data. And when I refused, I invited them to the university. I offered to share data, but they wanted to purchase the data. And then they actually, as mentioned in a New York article, they actually hired scientists to try to refute the data or to pick apart the data. And eventually they hired scientists to do experiments that
they try to muffle this man. Not only they try to muffle this man, they threaten his life, his children, with rape. Like, this is how wicked Esau is, man. They involved his wife and his child over doing something that they told him to do. And when they asked Jake to lie, he said, no, I'm telling the people the truth. They try to silence this man. And when they know they couldn't silence him, they try to get other scientists to disprove him. And this is, man, Esau's a snake. And he's double-tongued. The scriptures say that, they be born speaking lies, right? When they're born, they just, man, the scriptures also say, who can make that straight which the Lord have made crooked, right? These people are born this way, to just be wicked.
Claim refuted our data, and then that escalated to the company, actually Tim Pasteur in particular, and others from the company coming to presentations or lectures that I was giving to make handouts or to stand up and refute the data, and eventually even led to things like threats of violence. Tim Pasteur, for example, before I would give a talk, would literally threaten, whisper in my ear that he could have me lynched, or he would said he would send some of his good old boys to show me what it's like to be gay, or at one point he threatened my wife.
Like, come on, man. Who threatened somebody? He said, I could send some of my boys to show you what really gay is. And I believe it. Esau does have a lot of gay tendencies. And he would do a lot of gay things. Like, what kind of man threatens another man with gay violence?
And my daughter with sexual violence. He would whisper things like, your wife's at home alone right now. How do you know I haven't sent somebody there to take care of her? Isn't your daughter there? So eventually it really slipped into some, pretty scary tactics.
So what did you...
I'm not going to play the whole video. Like I said, I'm going to put this in the description below. I'm gonna play this video.
Atlanta's Black Gay Pride Weekend also wrapping things up today. The LGBTQ community took over the streets of Atlanta, and not just the ones painted in rainbows. Many people in the community and advocates alike traveled to Atlanta for this event. They say Atlanta is one of the most welcoming and inclusive places for the LGBTQ community, and there's no better place to celebrate.
It's been proven. Atlanta's one of the best places in the world for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, predominantly blacks. So-called blacks. It's you Southern Kingdom. right? The Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, which is you so-called blacks, Jamaicans, and Haitians. This is a war on the people, and they don't even see it, man. I've actually been in Atlanta. You know, I think it was like, I'm gonna say like 4 years ago, and you know, you see Jake, like they look like regular Jake, and they dress metrosexual. Metrosexual is a man who dresses, you know, feminine or like does a lot of upkeeping way too much. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like nail polish and all that other shit. Like thinning their eyebrows, but they claim to be heterosexuals, right? Like, it's just weird, man. You could just man, you can just sense it in the air, man. Something's up.
We have a support system here with our mayor. We have a support system here with our allies.
Of course, you got support from your mayor for the alphabet community, because he's the one allowing these poisons, which I'm getting ready to show you. That a lot of the agriculture in the U.S. Atlanta supplies. There's tens and tens of thousands of farms there.
And Atlanta's just a beautiful place in general.
Black Pride could end today, but many in the community are looking ahead to October when the LGBTQ community will celebrate Atlanta Pride.
So Atlanta Pride is gay pride, huh? I don't even know why this video popped up, man. Get out of here. Anyways, check this out. It says here, I'm reading this paragraph right here, Akim. It says Georgia is host to over 42,000 farms encompassing more than 9 million acres spread throughout the state. Though sometimes overlooked as part of Georgia's thriving small business community, 88% of these farms are considered to be small business in terms of annual sales. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reports nearly 35,000 farms. Proprietors consist of both sole proprietors and non-corporate partners as owners. Right, so these people are basically small farms that produce food for the locals. Right, that's how many there are. There's 35,000 of them just for local farms, not corporate farms, but they're all using all these chemicals. It says these facts demonstrate that the robust agriculture and related sectors not only contribute to our state and national and worldwide prominence, but comprise a critical part of the small business sector as well, on a local level. Right? The economic contribution to these food and fiber industries, including landscape services, ranges from a few million to a few $billion of county output, and often boasts thousands of jobs for the local agriculture and related sectors. So, you know, they're spraying these chemicals, and they have a lot of people working in these fields. Who do you think's working these fields? Touching these chemicals, bringing them home. Think about that. It's disgusting, man. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.